Kemi stands center class, humiliated. The school mocking her, but a secret changes everything. Will she triumph? Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell for the latest videos? The classroom door crashed open as Kemi, a wiry girl with dark skin and tightly braided hair, stumbled into Crestwood Academy's pristine lecture hall. Late on her first day, the elite private school's air was thick with judgment, and every eye locked onto her. Mr. Grayson, the grammar teacher with a tyrant's reputation, stood at the podium, his glare slicing through her. "You're late," he snarled, slamming a ruler on his desk. Kemi, heart hammering, clutched her tattered backpack and hurried to a seat by the window. The whiteboard screamed with a deliberately flawed sentence. A trap for the class. Kemi's eyes caught the errors instantly. She raised her hand, voice steady despite the stares. "Sir, the sentence has a misplaced modifier and a tense error. It's unclear." The room went deathly quiet. Grayson's face contorted, veins bulging. "Stand up," he roared. Kemi stood, her sneakers squeaking on the polished floor. "You dare correct me," he spat, storming toward her. "Louder, girl." Kemi's pulse raced, but she repeated, "The sentence is wrong, sir." The class burst into cruel laughter, phones flashing to capture the moment. Grayson's hand shot up, silencing them. Center of the room, now Kemi marched to the front, her jaw tight. "This," Grayson bellowed out, jabbing a finger at her, "is an insolent nobody who thinks she's above us?" His voice dripped venom. "Disrespectful, worthless, you'll never belong here." The laughter swelled, students jeering, some spitting out slurs. Kemi's fists clenched, nails digging into her palms. But she refused to flinch, her eyes burning into the floor. In the back, Lucas Grayson, the teacher's son, gripped his desk, knuckles white. He knew the truth his father didn't. Kemi was his half-sister, a secret buried 7 years. He'd found an old photo in his mother's drawer, a young intern, Aisha, with his father. Kemi's enrollment file, with Aisha's surname, had confirmed it. His stomach twisted as the class's taunts grew vicious. "Silence," Grayson slammed his ruler again, splintering it. "Sit, girl, and don't open your mouth again." Kemi returned to her seat, her face a mask, but her hands shook as she gripped her pen. The bell screamed, and the class surged out, their mockery echoing. Lucas stayed, watching Kemi pack slowly, her every move deliberate. He wanted to speak, but shame glued his feet. A shout from the hall snapped him alert. Freak a voice taunted. Kemi ignored it, shouldering her bag and striding out. Lucas followed, heart pounding, as a pack of boys, led by Tyler, a senior with a vendetta against charity cases, ambushed her in the courtyard. Tyler grabbed Kemi's arm, yanking her back. "Think you're smart." "Huh," he sneered, his fist raised. Kemi twisted free, her eyes flashing. "Touch me again, and you'll regret it," she hissed. Tyler laughed, shoving her toward the ground, but Kemi rolled, springing up and sprinting. The boys chased, their shouts feral, knocking over benches. Lucas bolted after them, adrenaline spiking. Kemi was lightning fast, weaving through the campus's manicured lawns. But the boys were relentless, Tyler hurling a rock that grazed her shoulder. She stumbled, blood seeping through her sleeve, and veered toward the main gate. The street beyond roared with rush-hour chaos. Lucas's breath caught it as Kemi's bag snagged on a fence, jerking her back. A delivery van's horn blared, its headlights blinding. Kemi froze. Inches from death, a figure exploded from the shadows, tackling her out of the way as the van screeched past. The man, hooded and wiry, hauled her to her feet. "Move, kid," he growled, his voice raw. Kemi gasped, spotting a tattoo on his neck, a jagged lightning bolt. He shoved her bag into her arms and vanished into the crowd, but not before slipping something into her pocket. Tyler's crew halted, spooked by the near hit, and fled. Lucas reached the gate, lungs burning, but Cammy was already limping away, blood staining her shirt, her eyes fierce. He wanted to shout her name, but fear stopped him. He retreated to the parking lot, where his father's car idled. At home, Lucas locked himself in his room, the classroom humiliation looping in his mind, Grayson's rage, Kemi's defiance. He scrolled through his phone. Videos of Kemi's ordeal were viral, captioned with hashtags like scholarship trash. His blood boiled. He had to act. But how a sharp rap at his door jolted him. His mother, clueless about the chaos, handed him an envelope, unmarked except for his name in stark ink. He tore it open. Inside, a photo of his father, younger, with Aisha, her pregnant belly unmistakable. Scrawled beneath, "She's your sister. Save her, or they'll kill her." Lucas's knees buckled. Someone knew someone dangerous. Across town, Kemi huddled on a rattling bus, pain throbbing in her shoulder. Aisha had warned her about Crestwood's cruelty, but not this war. She reached into her pocket and froze. A crumpled note, slipped there by the stranger. Her fingers trembled as she unfolded it. "They're watching. Trust no one." Kemi's heart stopped. Aisha's initial. But her mother was States Owen, wasn't she? Then she noticed something else in her pocket, a tiny key, etched with a lightning bolt. The bus screeched to a halt, and Kemi shoved the note and key deep into her bag, her mind ablaze. She stepped into the night, unaware of the hooded figure trailing her, his tattoo glinting under a flickering streetlight. Back at Crestwood, the janitor swept the empty classroom, pausing at Kemi's desk. Tucked in a crack was a torn paper, her notes on the flawed sentence. On the back, in Kemi's sharp script, was a vow they'll burn. Lucas slammed his bedroom door, the photo of his father with Aisha burning in his hand. The scrawled threat, "Save her, or they'll kill her," looped in his mind, each word a hammer to his chest. He paced, the hardwood floor creaking under his sneakers. Downstairs, his father, Mr. Grayson, was clinking glasses with colleagues, oblivious to the storm brewing. Lucas's phone buzzed relentlessly. New videos of Kemi's humiliation flooding group chats, captioned with vicious hashtags like "Know Your Place." His jaw clenched. He couldn't stay silent. Not anymore. He stuffed the photo into his pocket and stormed downstairs, where Grayson stood by the fireplace, mid-laugh. "We need to talk," Lucas said, his voice cutting through the chatter. Grayson's smile vanished. "Not now, boy," he snapped, but Lucas didn't back down. "It's about Kemi." The room went quiet, guests shifting uncomfortably. Grayson's eyes narrowed. "Upstairs. Now." They marched to the study, the door slamming behind them. Lucas didn't wait. "Is she my sister?" he demanded, pulling out the photo. Grayson's face paled, but he recovered fast, snatching the picture and tearing it in half. "You don't know what you're talking about." He growled, "That girl's a nobody. Her mother was a mistake." Lucas's fists balled. "You humiliated her. You knew who she was, didn't you?" Grayson stepped closer, his voice low and dangerous. "Drop this, Lucas, or you'll regret it." A chill ran through him, but Lucas held his ground. "Someone sent me that photo. They know, and they're watching." Grayson froze, his eyes darting to the window, as if expecting eyes in the dark. He shoved past Lucas, muttering about fixing this, and stormed out, leaving the torn photo on the floor. Lucas knelt, piecing it together, his resolve hardening. He had to find Kemi. Across town, Kemi sat on her apartment's worn couch. The mysterious note, "They're watching. Trust no one," clutched in her hand. The tiny key with the lightning bolt etching lay beside it, glinting under the dim lamp. Her shoulder throbbed from Tyler's rock, the bandage Aisha had applied still tight. Aisha, just back from her conference, knelt beside her, eyes fierce but tender. You're not going back to that school, she said, her voice steel. Kemi shook her head. I have to. They don't get to win. Aisha sighed, then sat back, her expression shifting to something unreadable. There's something you need to know. She pulled a folder from her bag, stamped with Crestwood's crest. Inside were legal documents, detailing a takeover. I bought the school, Aisha said, her voice low. Or rather, my foundation did. They don't know it's me yet, but they will. Kemi's breath caught. Why didn't you tell me? Aisha's eyes darkened. Because it's not just about the school. It's about him, Grayson. She recounted the past, her time as a student intern, Grayson's promises, his betrayal when she got pregnant, and the scandal that forced her out. Kemi's hands shook, the note crumpling in her fist. He's my father, isn't he? Aisha nodded, tears brimming. I kept you safe, gave you my name. But now we fight back. A knock at the door jolted them. Aisha motioned for silence, grabbing a kitchen knife. She peered through the peephole, then relaxed, opening the door to a courier who handed her a package with no sender. Inside was a USB drive, labeled Crestwood Secrets. Kemi's phone buzzed at the same moment, a text from an unknown number. Check your email. Her heart raced. She opened her inbox, finding a single message with a video attachment. It showed Grayson in his office, shredding documents, his voice audible. No one can know about her. Kemi's blood ran cold. Aisha plugged the USB into her laptop. Files loaded: financial records, emails, proof of Grayson's cover-up of Aisha's scandal. This is our weapon, Aisha said. But Kemi's eyes were on the key. What's this for? She asked. Aisha frowned. I didn't send that. A crash outside cut them off. A brick shattered their window. Glass spraying. Kemi dove to the floor. Aisha shielding her. Scrawled on the brick in red paint. Leave or die. Aisha grabbed her phone, dialing security, but Kemi was already moving. The key and note in her pocket. We need answers, she said, her voice steady despite the fear. Aisha nodded. Tonight, the school. Hours later, under a moonless sky, Kemi and Lucas, unaware of each other's plans, converged on Crestwood. Lucas had slipped out after his father left for an emergency meeting, determined to search Grayson's office. Kemi, with Aisha's reluctant blessing, had the lightning bolt key and a hunch it unlocked something in the admin wing. The campus was a maze of shadows, security lights flickering. Kemi picked the side gate's lock, her hands steady from years of helping Aisha fix things at home. Inside, she crept toward the admin building, unaware of Lucas jimmying a window nearby. He dropped into Grayson's office, rifling through drawers, finding a locked safe. His flashlight caught a glint, a keyhole with a lightning bolt symbol. His heart skipped. Did Kemi have the key? A creak in the hall made him freeze. Kemi, in the corridor, slid the key into a locked cabinet, her breath shallow. It clicked open, revealing files labeled Aisha Termination. She stuffed them into her bag, but footsteps echoed. She ducked behind a desk as a security guard's flashlight swept the room. Lucas, hearing the guard, slipped under Grayson's desk, his pulse hammering. The guard paused, radio crackling. Check the West Wing. Someone's here. As the guard left, Kemi emerged, only to bump into Lucas. They both gasped, Kemi's hand flying to her pocket, ready to fight. It's me. Lucas whispered, hands up. I'm helping you. Kemi's eyes narrowed, but a shout from the hall cut her off. There the guard was back, with Tyler and his crew, armed with bats. They weren't just bullies, they were Grayson's muscle. Kemi and Lucas bolted, files and photo in hand, through a fire exit. Alarms blared, lights flooding the campus. They sprinted across the lawn, Tyler's crew closing in, bats swinging. Kemi tripped, her bag spilling, but Lucas yanked her up, dodging a swing that splintered a bench. They dove into the woods bordering the campus, hearts pounding, as Tyler's shout echoed, "You're dead." Kemi. They hid behind a tree, breathless. The files clutched tight. Lucas whispered, "I know you're my sister." Kemi's eyes widened, but there was no time to process. Flashlights swept the trees. They had to move. Kemi's lungs burned as she and Lucas crouched in the dense woods bordering Crestwood Academy, the stolen files pressed against her chest. Flashlights from Tyler's crew sliced through the darkness, their shouts growing fainter, but no less menacing. Lucas's whispered confession, "I know you're my sister," hung between them, heavy and unresolved. Kemi's eyes flicked to him, wary but sharp. "We'll talk later," she hissed, shoving the files into her bag. "Move." They crept through the underbrush, twigs snapping underfoot, until the campus lights faded behind them. A low rumble of thunder rolled overhead, masking their steps as they reached a side street. Kemi's shoulder ached, the blood from Tyler's rock now crusted under her bandage. Lucas checked his phone, the screen glowing with a new message. "Board meeting tomorrow. Be there." It was from his mother, unaware of the chaos. Kemi glanced at the lightning bolt key in her hand, its purpose still a mystery. "We need somewhere safe," she said. Lucas nodded. "My friend's place. He's out of town." They slipped into an alley, hailing a late-night cab to a rundown apartment complex across town. Inside, they spread the files on a coffee table, their flashlight beams catching dates and names, emails from Grayson to the old principal, payoffs to silence Aisha's scandal, and a memo about removing threats. Kemi's stomach churned. "He knew about me," she whispered. Lucas's jaw tightened. "He'll pay." A sharp buzz broke the silence. Kemi's phone. Another anonymous text. Boardroom. 8 a.m. Truth comes out. Her pulse spiked. Aisha's plan was moving faster than she'd thought. By dawn, Crestwood's auditorium was packed, students and faculty buzzing with rumors. Kemi and Lucas slipped in separately, blending into the crowd. The principal, a wiry man with a nervous tic, took the stage, his voice trembling, effective immediately. Crestwood Academy is under new ownership. The Aisha Coleman Foundation has acquired the school. Gasps rippled through the room. Grayson, seated at the front row, shot to his feet, his face crimson. "This is a lie," he shouted. "That woman's a fraud." The principal flinched but pressed on. "The transition is legal. Ms. Coleman will address the board tonight." Kemi, hidden in the back, felt every eye turned toward her, whispers linking her to Aisha. Lucas, across the aisle, caught her gaze, his expression grim. Grayson stormed out, shoving past students, and Kemi knew he wasn't done. Hours later, as classes resumed, Kemi's phone lit up with a viral post Kemi's mom bought the school to rig it for her dropout daughter. Lies, laced with slurs, spread like wildfire, pinned to Grayson's anonymous account. Kemi's fists clenched, but Lucas texted her, "Meet me at 10 p.m. We're ending this." Night fell, and Crestwood's campus was a ghost town, its spires looming under storm clouds. Kemi met Lucas at the rear gate, both dressed in black, the lightning bolt key tucked in her pocket. "Grayson's office," Lucas said. "He's hiding something bigger." They scaled the fence, landing softly on the grass. Kemi's lock-picking skills got them into the admin building, their sneakers silent on the marble floor. Grayson's office was a fortress of locked drawers, but the files from last night pointed to a hidden server. Lucas pried open a cabinet, revealing a laptop rigged with a passcode. Kemi's fingers flew over the keys, guessing Grayson's habits, his arrogance. "Try Crestwood King," Lucas muttered. It worked. The screen flared, exposing deleted emails Grayson plotting with a board member to frame Aisha for fraud. Kemi plugged in a USB, downloading proof. But a shadow moved in the hall. Lucas yanked her down behind the desk as boots thudded closer. Tyler's voice hissed. "They're here." He wasn't alone. Two more of Grayson's lackeys, armed with crowbars, fanned out. Kemi's heart pounded. The lightning bolt key slipped from her pocket, clinking on the floor. Tyler's head snapped toward the sound. Gotcha, he growled, swinging his crowbar at the desk. Lucas tackled Kemi out of the way, the metal splintering wood. They scrambled through a side door. The files and USB clutched tight, into a maze of corridors. Tyler's crew gave chase, their shouts echoing off lockers. Kemi's bandage tore, blood seeping, but she didn't slow. Lucas shoved a janitor's cart into the hall, slowing their pursuers, and pointed to a stairwell. Basement, they dove down, the air growing damp and cold. The basement was a labyrinth of storage rooms, flickering lights casting jagged shadows. Kemi spotted a locked door with a lightning bolt symbol etched into the frame. Her breath caught. She jammed the key in, twisting hard. It clicked. Inside was a small room, stacked with boxes labeled confidential. Lucas ripped one open: photos, contracts, proof of Grayson's payoffs to silence Aisha and others. Jackpot, he whispered. A crash above cut him off. Tyler's voice boomed, "Find them." Kemi shoved a handful of documents into her bag, but the stairs rattled with footsteps. Lucas barricaded the door with a shelf, but it wouldn't hold long. Kemi's eyes darted to a ventilation grate. "There," she said, prying it open with a crowbar from the floor. They crawled inside, the metal groaning under their weight, and shuffled through the tight space, dust choking their lungs. Tyler's crowbar slammed the door, splintering it. "You're trapped," he roared. The vent led to a maintenance shaft, then an exterior grate near the football field. Kemi kicked it open, and they tumbled onto wet grass, rain pelting their faces. Alarms blared, campus lights blazing. Tyler's crew burst out, spotting them. Kemi and Lucas sprinted toward the woods, dodging swings, their bags heavy with evidence. A crowbar grazed Lucas's arm, drawing blood, but he didn't stop. They reached the tree line, diving behind a thick oak as Tyler's shouts faded in the storm. Kemi's chest heaved. "The USB and documents safe." Lucas gripped her shoulder. "We've got him now." Lightning cracked above, illuminating Kemi's fierce eyes. She nodded, but a rustle in the bushes made them freeze. A figure stepped out, hooded, the lightning bolt tattoo glinting on his neck. "You're not done yet," he said, his voice low, before vanishing into the rain. Rain hammered Crestwood Academy's rooftops as Kemi and Lucas huddled in the woods, soaked and breathless. The stolen documents and USB clutched tight. The hooded figure's warning, "You're not done yet," echoed in Kemi's mind. His lightning bolt tattoo a haunting riddle. Lucas's arm bled from a crowbar graze, but his eyes burned with resolve. "We've got enough to bury him," he said, nodding at the evidence. Kemi's jaw tightened, her shoulder wound stinging under the bandage. "Then let's move." They slipped through the storm, catching a bus to Aisha's apartment, where she waited, her face a mask of fury and fear. She scanned the files, her hands trembling at Grayson's betrayal, laid bare payoffs, threats, all to erase her and Kemi. "The board meets in 2 hours," Aisha said, voice steel. "Grayson's been summoned. We end this today." Kemi gripped the lightning bolt key, still unsure of its full purpose, but nodded. Lucas hesitated. "He'll fight dirty. He always does." Aisha's eyes met his. "So will we." By noon, Crestwood's boarded room was a battlefield, its oak table surrounded by grim-faced trustees. Grayson sat at one end, his suit crisp but his eyes wild, like a cornered animal. Kemi and Lucas slipped in, standing at the back, invisible among the faculty. Aisha entered last, her presence commanding, her tailored blazer a stark contrast to the intern she'd once been. The chairman, a balding man with a nervous cough, opened the meeting. "Mr. Grayson, you're accused of misconduct in obstructing the school's transition. Respond." Grayson shot to his feet, his voice booming. "This is a sham. Aisha Coleman's takeover is illegal. Her foundation's funds are untraceable, likely criminal. She's manipulating you to install her daughter. A delinquent who disrespects authority. Whispers erupted. Kemi's fists clenched. But Aisha raised a hand, silencing the room. My finances are audited in public, she said, sliding a binder across the table. Your accusations, however, lack evidence. Unlike mine. She nodded to Kemi, who stepped forward. USB in hand, Lucas followed. Holding the files, they plugged the drive into the projector, and Grayson's emails flashed on the screen, proof of his payoffs to silence Aisha's scandal, his orders to neutralize threats. The board gasped. Grayson's face drained of color. Lies, he shouted, lunging for the USB, but Lucas blocked him, shoving him back into his chair. Sit down, Dad, he growled, the word dripping with contempt. The chairman's voice shook. This is damning. Mr. Grayson, you're suspended pending investigation. Grayson's eyes darted to the door, but Aisha wasn't done. There's more, she said, her voice icy. He orchestrated harassment against my daughter. She played the video from Kemi's email, showing Grayson shredding documents, muttering about keeping her quiet. The room fell silent, the weight of his guilt crushing. Grayson slammed his fist on the table. You'll regret this, Coleman. He stormed out, shoving past a trustee, his footsteps echoing. Kemi's heart raced. She knew he wouldn't go quietly. As the meeting adjourned, students crowded the halls, whispering about the boardroom drama. Kemi and Lucas headed for the exit, the files still in her bag, but a scream stopped them cold. Smoke curled from the chemistry lab down the hall, shouts of fire ringing out. Kemi's eyes widened. He's covering his tracks, she said, sprinting toward the lab. Lucas on her heels. The lab door was ajar, flames licking the walls, chemical bottles shattered on the floor. Through the haze, Kemi spotted Tyler, Grayson's enforcer, pouring liquid from a canister, his crowbar glinting. He snarled, spotting her. This ends now. He lunged, swinging the crowbar at Kemi's head. She ducked, the metal grazing her hair, and tackled him, her momentum slamming him into a table. Bottles crashed, feeding the flames. Lucas dove in, wrenching the crowbar from Tyler's hand, but two more of Grayson's lackeys burst through a side door, one wielding a knife. Get her! Tyler roared, scrambling up. Kemi grabbed a fire extinguisher, blasting foam into the knife wielder's face, blinding him. Lucas swung the crowbar, knocking the second lackey's legs out, but Tyler charged again, slamming Kemi against a cabinet. Pain exploded in her shoulder, blood soaking her bandage. Lucas tackled Tyler, pinning him, but the fire surged, a shelf collapsing in a shower of sparks. We've got to go, Lucas shouted, dragging Kemi toward the door. She grabbed her bag, the files intact, and they stumbled into the hall, coughing, as alarms blared. Firefighters stormed in, students fleeing. But Kemi froze. A glint of metal caught her eye. Grayson stood at the hall's end, a gas can in hand, his eyes locked on her. You think you've won, he hissed, splashing liquid on the floor. Lucas stepped in front of Kemi, crowbar raised. Back off, Dade. Grayson laughed, a hollow sound, and tossed a lighter. Flames erupted, cutting them off. Kemi's mind raced. She spotted a fire hose on the wall, yanked it free, and sprayed, dousing the flames and knocking Grayson back. He slipped, crashing into a locker, the gas can clattering. Lucas charged, pinning him until security had arrived, cuffing Grayson as he spat curses. The lab fire was contained, but the hall was chaos. Students filming, teachers shouting. Kemi and Lucas staggered outside, rain mixing with soot on their faces. The files and USB were safe, but Kemi's eyes caught a figure across the quad, the hooded man, his lightning bolt tattoo visible, watching. He nodded once and vanished. Lucas gripped her arm. We did it. He's done. Kemi shook her head, the key heavy in her pocket. Not yet. Aisha ran to them, pulling Kemi into a fierce hug, but her eyes were on the crowd. Where whispers of Grayson's arrest spread, the board reconvened that afternoon, the evidence undeniable. Grayson's suspension became termination, his allies on the board scrambling to distance themselves. Kemi stood tall, the files her weapon, but the hooded man's warning gnawed at her. Someone else was pulling strings. As night fell, she slipped the lightning bolt key into Aisha's hand. "What's next?" she asked. Aisha's face hardened. "We exposed them all." The air in Crestwood Academy's courtyard was thick with smoke and rain as Kemi and Lucas stood, battered but unbroken, watching security haul Mr. Grayson away in cuffs. His curses echoed, drowned by the wail of sirens. The files and USB, proof of his corruption, were safe in Kemi's bag. But the weight of the lightning bolt key in her pocket felt heavier than ever. Aisha's arms wrapped around her, fierce and protective. But her eyes scanned the crowd, wary of the hooded figure who'd vanished moments ago. "This isn't over," Aisha whispered, her voice taut. Kemi nodded, her shoulder wound pulsing, blood mixing with rainwater. Lucas, his arm bandaged from the crowbar graze, clenched his fists. "He's done, but someone's still out there," he said, glancing at the spot where the tattooed stranger had stood. The board had terminated Grayson, but the whispers among students shock, fear, guilt hinted at a deeper storm brewing. By evening, Crestwood's auditorium was packed for an emergency assembly, the board scrambling to address the chaos. Kemi and Lucas slipped in, standing at the back, their evidence ready. Aisha took the stage, her presence silencing the restless crowd. "You've seen lies spread about my daughter," she began, her voice cutting like a blade. "You've seen a teacher abuse his power, but you haven't seen the truth." She paused, her eyes finding Kemi. "Kemi is my daughter and Grayson's. He hid her existence, erased my name, and tried to destroy us both." The room erupted, students gasping, teachers whispering. Kemi stepped forward, her head high despite the pain in her shoulder. "I didn't come here to be a victim," she said, her voice steady. "I came to learn. But you laughed. You filmed. You let him break me." Her gaze swept the crowd, landing on faces that had mocked her, now pale with shame. Lucas joined her, his voice raw. "She's my sister, and I stood by too long." The silence was deafening, broken only by a sob from a girl who'd shared the viral videos. Aisha raised the USB, projecting Grayson's damning emails for all to see, his payoffs, his threats, his orders to silence her. "This ends now," she declared. "Crestwood will change." The board chairman, sweating, nodded. "Grayson's actions are unforgivable. We'll ensure justice." But as the crowd dispersed, Kemi caught a flicker of movement, a side door swinging shut. Her gut twisted. Grayson wasn't done fighting. Hours later, word spread Grayson had slipped custody during a transfer, a guard bribed or coerced. Kemi, Lucas, and Aisha regrouped in the principal's office. The files spread out. "He's desperate," Lucas said, his voice tight. "He'll come for the evidence." Aisha's phone buzzed, a security alert. Cameras caught Grayson sneaking into the admin building, a duffel bag in hand. Kemi's eyes narrowed. "He's after the server. It has backups of everything." They moved fast, slipping through Crestwood's darkened halls, the storm outside masking their steps. The admin building was eerie, its lights flickering. Kemi gripped the lightning bolt key, sensing it held more secrets. They reached the server room, its door ajar, and heard Grayson inside, cursing as he yanked cables. Lucas charged, tackling him, but Grayson swung a wrench, catching Lucas's shoulder. Kemi dove in, grabbing Grayson's arm, but he threw her off, her head slamming into a rack. Pain exploded, but she scrambled up, spotting a terminal flashing with deleted files. "He's wiping it," she shouted. Lucas grappled with Grayson, pinning him, but a new voice froze them all. "Enough. Harrow, the history teacher, step in from the shadows, a flash drive in hand. Kemi's breath caught. Harrow had always been kind, quiet. I helped him, Harrow said, her voice trembling. Years ago, I forged documents to bury Aisha's scandal. I thought it was over. She tossed the flash drive to Kemi. This has everything: his deals, my signatures. I'm done protecting him. Grayson roared, lunging for Harrow, but Lucas slammed him into the wall, knocking him out. Kemi plugged in the drive, her hands shaking. It held records of Grayson's network board members, donors, all complicit in his schemes. Aisha burst in with security, her face a mix of rage and relief. You're safe, she said, pulling Kemi close, but her eyes locked on Harrow. Why now? Harrow's shoulders slumped. I saw Kemi in class, her strength. I couldn't stay silent. Security cuffed Grayson again, this time with no escape. Harrow surrendered, her confession sealing Grayson's fate. As they left the server room, Kemi's phone buzzed an anonymous text. Good work, but the real fight's coming. Her blood ran cold. Aisha hadn't sent it. The lightning bolt key burned in her pocket, its lock still out there. Outside, students gathered, some apologizing to Kemi, their voices hushed. The girl who'd sobbed in the assembly approached, offering a shaky, I'm sorry. Kemi nodded, her expression hard but not cruel. Lucas gripped her shoulder. We're in this together now. Aisha led them to her car, the files and drives secure, but Kemi's eyes scanned the dark, searching for the hooded figure. He didn't appear, but his warning lingered. The school was theirs, but the tattooed stranger's words hinted at a larger enemy. As they drove off, Kemi opened her bag, finding a new note slipped inside. Unnoticed. Boards clean. Look higher. Her heart raced. Someone was always one step ahead. She handed the note to Aisha, whose face darkened. We're not done, Aisha said, gripping the wheel. Kemi nodded. The keys wait a promise of battles to come. Lucas leaned forward, his voice firm. Whoever's behind this, we'll find them. Lightning cracked, illuminating Crestwood's spires, now a battleground for truth. The rain had stopped, but Crestwood Academy's campus felt like a powder keg, ready to ignite. Kemi sat in Aisha's car, the mysterious note boards clean. Look higher. Burning a hole in her pocket alongside the lightning bolt key. Grayson was behind bars, his network exposed by Harrow's flash drive. But the tattooed stranger's warning and the anonymous messages hinted at a shadow still looming. Lucas leaned forward from the back seat, his arm bandaged but his voice steady. Whoever sent that note knows more than we do. We need to find them. Aisha's grip tightened on the wheel, her eyes scanning the dark. First, we secure the school. They'll hit back. Kemi nodded, her shoulder wound throbbing, but her resolve unbreakable. The files and drives were safe, but the key's purpose gnawed at her. As they pulled up to Crestwood's gates, a crowd of students lingered, their faces a mix of guilt and awe. The girl who'd sobbed at Kemi's speech approached, her voice shaky. We were wrong. We want to help. Kemi's eyes narrowed, but Lucas stepped in. Prove it. The girl, Sarah, nodded, gesturing to a small group former bullies, now humbled. Tell us what to do. Kemi hesitated, then handed Sarah a burner phone number. Stay sharp. We'll call. By dawn, Crestwood buzzed with tension. Aisha met with the board, presenting Harrow's evidence to oust Grayson's allies, while Kemi and Lucas patrolled the halls, eyes peeled for trouble. Sarah's group texted update. Strange deliveries at the back gate. Unmarked vans near the library. Kemi's gut twisted. They're targeting the archives, she said, remembering the confidential boxes from the lightning bolt room. Lucas grabbed his crowbar, a grim trophy from the lab fight. Let's move. They rallied Sarah's crew 5 students, including a wiry kid named Jamal, who'd once thrown slurs but now carried a fire extinguisher like a weapon. The library loomed, its stained glass windows dark. Inside, the air was heavy with the scent of old books and something sharper gasoline. Kemi's heart sank. A faint glow flickered from the rare books section. "There," she whispered, signaling the group to spread out. They crept forward, footsteps muffled on the carpet, but a crash stopped them cold. A shelf toppled, books scattering. As a figure in a ski mask doused the floor with liquid, two more masked figures emerged, one clutching a lighter. "Burn it all," the leader hissed, voice muffled but familiar. "Vance," a board member loyal to Grayson. Kemi signaled Lucas, who nodded, circling with Jamal. Sarah's group flanked the other side, silent but ready. Kemi lunged first, tackling the lighter wielder, her momentum slamming him into a table. The lighter skittered across the floor, sparking but not igniting. Vance swung a metal rod, grazing Kemi's arm, but Lucas dove in, crowbar clashing against the rod with a deafening clang. Jamal blasted foam from the extinguisher, blinding the third figure, who stumbled into a shelf, toppling it. Sarah and her crew charged, wrestling the masked men, their shouts echoing. Kemi scrambled for the lighter, stomping out a spark as gasoline fumes choked the air. Vance broke free, grabbing a knife from his belt and slashing at Lucas, who dodged but caught a nick on his hand. Blood dripped, but Lucas swung the crowbar, knocking the knife away. Kemi spotted a sprinkler valve on the wall, yanked it, and water sprayed, dousing the gasoline and the attackers. Vance roared, slipping on the wet floor. But he wasn't done. He pulled a second lighter, flicking it. A flame caught, licking a pile of books. Kemi dove, grabbing a fire blanket from a nearby station, and smothered the flames, her hands blistering. Sarah's crew pinned the other two, ripping off their masks, Vance's assistants. Hired muscle, Lucas tackled Vance, wrenching the lighter away, and Jamal tied his wrist with a torn curtain. The sprinklers soaked the library, but the rare books were safe, including the confidential boxes. Kemi's phone buzzed mid-chaos, a text from the burner. "Check the boxes." Now, she tore into one, finding ledgers detailing Grayson's deals with a name she didn't recognize, Sterling Corp. Lucas peered over her shoulder. "That's not a donor. That's a front." Aisha burst in with security, her face grim. Vance was tipped off, she said, eyeing the ledgers. "Someone's feeding them intel." Kemi handed her the lightning bolt key. "This has to fit something else. Sterling's involved." Aisha nodded, but her eyes flicked to Sarah's group, wary of their sudden loyalty. Security hauled Vance and his men away, but the library was a wreck, water pooling around the scorched books. Sarah approached Kemi, soaked and shaking. "We didn't know it'd be like this." Kemi's voice was hard. "You're in or out. No half measures." Sarah nodded, her crew echoing her. Lucas wiped blood from his hand, his gaze on the ledgers. "Sterling's big. Grayson was a pawn." Kemi's mind raced the tattooed stranger. The notes. Sterling. She slipped the new note from her pocket, unnoticed during the fight. Sterling's next. "Find the vault." Oh, her pulse spiked. Aisha hadn't sent it. The group regrouped outside, the storm clouds parting, but the campus felt like a trap. Kemi scanned the shadows, expecting the hooded figure, but he didn't appear. Jamal handed her a singed photo from the boxes, Grayson shaking hands with a suited man, a Sterling Corp logo in the background. "Who's this?" he asked. Kemi's eyes narrowed. "Trouble." Aisha called them to her car, the ledgers and key in hand. "We're locking these down," she said. "But Sterling's reach is deep. We need the vault." Kemi nodded, her blisters throbbing, but her focus was razor sharp. Lucas gripped his crowbar, ready for the next fight. Sarah's crew stood closer, their guilt forging into purpose. As they drove off, Kemi spotted a flicker in the rearview of a van, unmarked, trailing them. The lightning bolt key felt like a bomb, its lock waiting to detonate their world. Kimmy's fingers tightened around the lightning bolt key as Aisha's car sped away from Crestwood Academy, the unmarked van trailing them a shadow in the rear view. The ledgers from the library, implicating Sterling Corp., lay heavy in her bag. Alongside the cryptic note, Sterling's next, find the vault. Her blisters burned from the library fight, but her mind was sharp, piecing together the tattooed stranger's warnings and Sterling's role. Lucas, in the back seat, nursed his cut hand, his crowbar at his side. That van's been on us since the campus, he said, voice low. Aisha's eyes flicked to the mirror. Hold on. She swerved into a side street, tires screeching, losing the van in a maze of alleys. Sarah and Jamal, squeezed beside Lucas, clutched the ledgers, their faces set. The school was safe for now, but Sterling's reach loomed larger than Grayson's schemes. At Aisha's office, a fortified loft downtown, they spread the ledgers out, names, dates, transfers. Sterling Corp wasn't just a donor, it was a machine, funding Grayson's cover-ups and more. Kemi's phone buzzed a text from the burner vaults under the old chapel. Use the key. Tonight. Her pulse raced. Aisha hadn't sent it. The chapel's on campus, Lucas said, catching her look. It's been locked for years. Kemi held up the lightning bolt key. Not anymore. Aisha's face hardened. It's a trap. Sterling's cleaning house. Before Kemi could argue, a knock rattled the door. Aisha drew a taser from her desk, motioning for silence. She checked the peephole, then opened it, revealing a guard with news. Grayson had requested a meeting at the detention center, demanding to see Kemi and Lucas. He's got nothing left. Lucas spat, but Kemi's gut churned. He knows something. She said, we go. Aisha nodded, reluctant, but we hit the chapel after. At the detention center, Grayson sat behind glass, his suit replaced by a gray jumpsuit, his eyes hollow but sharp. Kemi and Lucas faced him, the phone receiver crackling. You think you've won, Grayson hissed. Sterling's bigger than me. They'll crush you. Kemi leaned in, her voice cold. Then tell us where the vault is. Grayson laughed, bitter. You're my blood, girl, and you're still naive. I buried your mother's name to protect you from them. Lucas slammed the phone down, but Kemi grabbed it. You hurt us. You don't get to play savior. Tell me about Sterling, or you rot here. Grayson's smirk faded. The chapel. Underground. That's all you get. His eyes flicked to Lucas. You're no son of mine. Lucas's jaw clenched. Good. Kemi stood, her voice steady. I forgive you, but you'll face every charge. Grayson's face twisted, but he said nothing as guards led him away. Lucas grabbed Kemi's arm outside. I'm done with him. You're my family now. She nodded, a weight lifting, but the key in her pocket felt like a ticking bomb. Back at Crestwood, dusk settled as Aisha addressed a packed auditorium, her voice commanding. This school will be a place of truth, she declared, unveiling a reform plan, scholarships, ethics boards, and Kemi as student representative. Cheers erupted, Sarah's crew loudest, their loyalty cemented. Kemi took the stage, her bandages visible but her head high. No more silence, she said, eyes sweeping the crowd. We rebuild together. The applause was cut short by a low rumble explosives. Deep in the campus, smoke billowed from the old chapel, its spire silhouetted against the twilight. Kemi's heart sank. The vault, she, Lucas, Sarah, and Jamal sprinted across the quad, Aisha shouting for security. The chapel's doors were blasted open, rubble strewn across the pews. A figure stood inside Ms. Lena Carver, Aisha's old mentor from her intern days, now a Sterling Corp executive. Her smile was venomous. You're too late, Aisha. The vault's ours. Kemi gripped the key, spotting a trap door behind the altar, its lock etched with a lightning bolt, Carver's men, armed with batons, blocked the way. "Destroy it," Carver ordered, tossing a flare toward the trapdoor. Flames sparked, licking wooden beams. Kemi dove, sliding under a baton swing, and jammed the key into the lock. The trapdoor clicked, revealing a stairwell. Lucas tackled a guard, crowbar flashing, while Sarah and Jamal wrestled another, their extinguisher blasting foam. Aisha charged Carver, taser crackling, but Carver dodged, drawing a knife. "You should have stayed gone," she hissed, slashing. Aisha blocked, twisting Carver's arm, but the flames spread, the chapel creaking. Kemi descended the stairs, Lucas behind her, into a concrete vault stacked with servers and files Sterling's black ledger, detailing bribes, blackmail, and worse. Kemi grabbed a hard drive, but Carver's voice echoed from above, "Bury them." A guard slammed the trapdoor, locking it. Smoke seeped through cracks, the air thinning. Lucas pounded the door, but it held. Kemi's eyes darted to a vent in the wall, barely wide enough. There she shouted, prying it open with a shard of metal. They crawled through, coughing. The hard drive clutched tight. As the chapel groaned above, the vent led to a drainage pipe, spitting them into a ditch outside. Flames engulfed the chapel, but Sarah and Jamal burst out, dragging an unconscious guard. Aisha followed, blood on her arm from Carver's knife. Carver was gone, vanished in the chaos. Sirens wailed as firefighters arrived, containing the blaze. Kemi handed Aisha the hard drive, her voice hoarse. "This ends Sterling." Aisha nodded, but her eyes were distant, haunted by Carver's betrayal. Lucas gripped Kemi's shoulder. "We're not done." Sarah and Jamal stood close, their faces grim but resolute. Kemi's phone buzzed a final text. "Carver's the key. Finish it. A." The lightning bolt key, now useless, lay in her palm, its lock opened but its secrets far from solved. As they regrouped, a black SUV peeled away in the distance, Carver's silhouette inside. Kemi's resolve hardened. Sterling's empire was cracking, and she'd tear it down. Kemi clutched the Sterling Corp hard drive, its weight a lifeline as she stood in the ditch outside Crestwood Academy's burning chapel. The firefighters' hoses roared, dousing the flames, but Lena Carver's escape in the black SUV gnawed at her. Aisha, bloodied from Carver's knife, scanned the hard drive's files on her phone, her face grim. "This ties Sterling to everything Grayson. The payoffs, even city officials," she said. Lucas, his hand bandaged, gripped his crowbar, eyes on the horizon where Carver's taillights had vanished. "She's not done," he said. Sarah and Jamal, soaked and bruised, flanked Kemi, their loyalty unshakable. Kemi's phone buzzed a final text. "Carver's at the docks. Stop her, eh?" Her heart raced. The tattooed stranger was guiding them. But why? Aisha's voice cut through. "We end this now." They piled into her car, the hard drive and ledgers secure, and sped toward the city's industrial docks. The night thick with fog. The docks were a maze of cranes and shipping containers, their rusted edges glinting under sodium lights. Kemi's blisters throbbed, but she led the group, the anonymous techs of their only map. Sarah's crew fanned out, eyes sharp for Carver's SUV. Aisha checked her taser, her wound bandaged, but slowing her. Lucas whispered to Kemi, "You okay?" She nodded. The lightning bolt key now useless after opening the vault tucked in her pocket as a reminder. "Let's finish it," she said, her voice steel. A low hum broke the silence and engine. Carver's SUV idled near a warehouse, its doors open. Kemi signaled the group to crouch behind a stack of crates. Carver stepped out, flanked by 3 armed guards, a laptop under her arm. "Load the server," she barked, gesturing to a crate marked Sterling Exports. Kemi's blood ran cold. Carver was smuggling Sterling's arada to erase their crimes. Lucas gripped his crowbar, but Kemi held him back. We need her alive. For proof. Sarah texted the burner number, hoping for backup, but no reply came. They had to act. Kemi crept forward, using the fog for cover, and slipped into the warehouse. Inside, servers hummed, wired to explosives. Carver was planning to blow the evidence sky high. Kemi's heart pounded. She recognized the setup from the chapel. Lucas followed, signaling Sarah and Jamal to flank the guards. Aisha stayed back, her taser ready, watching Carver. Kemi reached the server rack, pulling wires to disable the bombs. But a guard spotted her. Raising his gun, "Freeze," he shouted. Lucas dove, swinging his crowbar, knocking the gun away. The guard tackled him, fists flying, but Sarah and Jamal charged, wrestling the other two guards. Kemi yanked the last wire, the explosives timer stopping at 10 seconds. Carver spun, her knife flashing, and lunged at Kemi. "You're nothing," she snarled, slashing. Kemi dodged, grabbing a wrench from the floor, and parried, metal clanging. Aisha fired her taser, but Carver sidestepped, kicking Aisha's wounded arm. Aisha grunted, falling, but Kemi swung the wrench, catching Carver's forward shoulder. Carver staggered, dropping the laptop. Lucas pinned his guard, shouting, "Get the computer!" Jamal dove for it, sliding across the concrete as a bullet sparked from a guard's recovered gun. Sarah tackled the shooter, her extinguisher blasting foam, blinding him. Kemi faced Carver. Wrench raised. "It's over," she said. Carver laughed, blood trickling from her lip. "Sterling's bigger than me." A shot rang out not from the guards, but from the warehouse roof. The tattooed stranger, rifle in hand, dropped the last guard, his lightning bolt tattoo glinting. "Move," he barked, vanishing into the fog. Kemi grabbed the laptop, its screen showing Sterling's global network names, accounts, crimes. Aisha staggered up, taser in hand, and zapped Carver, who collapsed, twitching. Security sirens wailed. Sarah's text had reached the police. Officers swarmed, cuffing Carver and her men. Kemi handed the laptop to Aisha, who nodded, her eyes fierce. "This buries them." Back at Crestwood, dawn broke as Aisha presented the evidence to the board. Media and students. Sterling Corp's leaders were arrested, their empire crumbling. Grayson's trial was set, his crimes undeniable. Kemi stood on the auditorium stage, no longer the outcast, but the heiress of a new Crestwood. "This is our school," she said, her voice ringing. "No more secrets." The crowd roared, Sarah's crew leading the cheers. Lucas stood beside her, his smile quiet but proud. Their bond as siblings sealed. Aisha announced a unity event, where students signed a pledge against injustice. Kemi's name on the banner as student leader. Days later, Kemi walked into class, her head high, no longer ducking stares. The girl who'd mocked her offered a notebook, a shy apology in its pages. Kemi accepted it, her smile small but real. Lucas joined her, tossing his crowbar into a locker. "We don't need it anymore," he said. Aisha met them after, her arm healed, her foundation now running Crestwood. "You're my strength," she told Kemi, hugging her. The tattooed stranger never reappeared. But a final note arrived in Kemi's bag. "You did it. Live free, eh?" She never learned his name, but his lightning bolt had sparked their victory. As the unity event lit up the quad, music and laughter filling the air, Kemi stood with Lucas, Sarah, and Jamal, watching students rebuild what Grayson and Sterling had broken. She slipped the lightning bolt key into a drawer, its work done, and stepped into the light, ready for whatever came next. From shame to heiress, Kemi topples a criminal empire. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell to catch new stories.